Hi and welcome to Studio SN. My name is Sara Naumann and today we're going to do some embossing with Lazertran. Lazertran is a water slide decal paper, so it may seem a little bit surprising to learn that you can also do heat embossing on it before you layer it onto your background paper. And that's what I've done on the card focal here. You can see this pretty image, the Palm Frond, has been heat embossed with white embossing powder. I sprayed it with Dylusions in green and then layered it onto a stamped background image. So a lot of layers, really easy to do. Let me bring in first this piece of Lazertran that I just cut down and then heat embossed my image on here. And the stamp that I'm using is the Palm Frond from Judikins. And so I stamped this using an embossing ink. So this is the Watermark Resist. This can also be used as an embossing ink. And then I heat set it with white embossing powder, and this is like an ultra fine embossing powder, so that when I've got my image all heat set on here, it's ready to spritz with Dylusion. So I'm going to bring in my cardboard, lovely cardboard spraying piece here, and I have not soaked the Lazertran, so it's still on its liner sheet. But I can still add something liquid to it without it coming off of the liner sheet, which might be a little surprising. And the Dylusions that I'm using, this is in the Cut Grass green. So I'm just going to give 1-2 spritzes here. Not soaking it, but just letting it color the background and then onto that Palm Frond. And I'm going to blot off a little bit of the excess and then just let it air dry. So I've got a piece that's already dry. Let me bring this in. And you can see it's just been kind of spot spattered with that Dylusions. And then once this is dry, I can bring in my water bucket. And the water is about 1/4 of an inch deep. It's just a shallow tray of water. And then I'm going to drop my piece directly into the water. And it will curl up somewhat alarmingly. And then I just need to let it soak for a minute or two. Doesn't take a very long time. You will see a little bit of the green floating off, but certainly not as much as you would expect. And the color that's coming off is generally coming off of the embossed area because that will act as a resist. So you can see that as it's soaking and relaxing in the water, relaxes off of that liner sheet, and then you can slide it off of the liner. And so then what I'll do is bring in my towel, pull off the liner sheet, and you can just toss that, and then pat this dry. You can either let it air dry or you can pat it dry. It depends on if you're in a hurry or not. I'm going to slide my water all the way out of the way and show you what this will look like. So now I've got this kind of wispy piece of paper. I need to figure out what I want to put it on. And I decided to put it onto a piece of plain white cardstock. And I stamped this border image here. This is from a stamp set from Paper Artsy. And the stamp that I'm using is this letter border here. This is actually part of an old letter that I found in a flea market in Amsterdam. So it's a bit special to me. And I'm just stamping a portion of it. I'm not stamping the entire background piece, although I could do that if I wanted to. So the next step is to adhere my embossed image onto my background. So I'm going to use gel medium, and this is the multi-medium from Claudine Helmuth. And I'll put it on with a paintbrush. And when I'm applying this, I'm going to put it onto my paper rather than onto my Lazertran piece because the paper will start to absorb the gel medium, and it just makes it easier and tidier to put down. You're not working with a wispy piece of Lazertran that's also got adhesive on it. So when I put the gel medium down, I'm thinking of it in terms of fingernail polish. So not too thick and not too thin. When things go wrong with Lazertran, it's generally because there's too much adhesive or there's too much of the gel medium. And then I can simply take my piece and generally working from the center out, I'm going to place this down and smooth it down. And smooth down the outside edges, smooth from the center out. If you have any air bubbles, you can smooth them out that way. You can also turn this over onto your craft sheet and then smooth it down like that as well. And then you just need to let this dry. The Lazertran will dry with a whitish cast to it, which means that it will really ghost back some of that background area. But it results in a really cool dimensional effect. And let me bring back in my original card, and you can see between the stamped and embossed image, which then gives a really nice texture to it. Then you've got the green, which is another layer, and then you've got that stamped background, which is another layer still. I think it's a really cool dimensional accent piece for a card. So I just simply trimmed this down and then accented it onto a piece of green cardstock. It's been matted onto black. This piece of cream cardstock back here has also been stamped with that same border. So I have a nice balance between my background paper and then this background paper here on my card as well. And then just a little bit of gingham ribbon down at the bottom to accent it. So this is how to heat emboss on Lazertran. I hope you enjoyed today's segment. For more inspiration, please do stop by my website at saranaumann.com. Thanks so much for joining me, and I will see you next time.